So I recently saw a video response by MrRepzion to this user named Feminist Frequency who's talking about how women are objectified in video games because they're made passive, and that passivity is a form of objectification because objects are passive. And he basically completely misses the boat on her point where she's saying that, like, because we want women to do nothing, that inherently means that we want women to be sexual objects. And, like, Isabel Allende makes a really interesting point in her book, The House of the Spirits, which is she equates being sexually attracted to a woman who does nothing with being sexually attracted to a corpse. And so it's kind of this necrophilic theme in video games of wanting a woman to be a passive object that really reveals itself. And MrRepzion kind of just ignores Feminist Frequency's point about that, and then uses his what I call male ethos, or really ethos of privilege, to say it's my word against hers, you should take my word, and then doesn't really use facts to back it up. Then he really puts words in her mouth by saying that the point of her videos is say that there are only male protagonists, and that's just not true. What she's saying is, she's looking at a big picture, societal perspective. That's how she introduces her video. And in the video she talks about big video games that are hugely popular, like Mario, or that at the time were hugely popular. And so, like, you can go and search out obscure video games with female protagonists all you want, but the ones that have succeeded are the ones with male protagonists and damsels in distress. And really what it is isn't that it's only male protagonists, it's that it's only popularized male protagonists, right? So, like, for example, some huge chunk of protagonists in, like, TV are male. And that doesn't mean that there aren't shows that exist. That doesn't mean you can't go search out shows where there are female protagonists. But the ones that get popular are the ones with male protagonists, and it's the same thing with video games. The ones that get popular are the ones with male protagonists, and that's what MrRepzion is missing in his video. It's the interrupting white guy, once again, co-opting the speech of individuals who belong to oppressed groups and putting words in their mouths, colonizing their speech and rewriting their stories. And that's what MrRepzion is doing here. He's rewriting what she said, and using the ethos that he inherits from his privilege to assert that he's the one telling the truer story than her. Then he lists female protagonists. And I have to get out my list. So Mrs. Pac-Man is just a less popular / cool version of Pac-Man, which doesn't really count for me. Then there's a video game with a female kangaroo searching for her baby, and that's the premise of the story. How progressive. And then there's Lady Master of Kung Fu, which is this girl in her underwear, because I looked it up. And there's Ninja Princess, which is a girl in no underwear, because I looked it up. There's The Return of Ishtar, which is like a blonde girl. But nothing against blonde girls, but you know, the stereotypical bottle blonde girl. And Wing of Medulla, which is this girl in like a... Or no, then there's Wing of Medulla and Phantasy Star, which are like these girls in robo suits. So, you know, props for those, but meh. They're all kind of girls in their underwear. And, you know, Rule 34 of the internet applies to all of these, so... Then he goes on to talk about Super Princess Peach. Apparently somebody invented a version of Super Mario where instead of Mario going to save Peach, Peach is now going to save Mario. And that doesn't really negate the whole systemic thing here. Like, just because somebody reversed the roles doesn't mean that the assumptions behind the initial roles don't still exist. I shouldn't have to explain this. But, like, just because... I mean, the initial assumption is that Mario is saving Peach. And the initial popular game is of the man going to save the woman. So I don't understand why that's even a valid point. Then he's like, oh, you should have done your research, Feminist Frequency, in this really condescending way. Like, he's the intellectual and she's just stupid for not having done her work. When really his video is like half the length of hers and half as well researched and half as well analyzed. And then he's like, all of her points are just bullshit. And I'm like, really? Systemic stereotypes of women are bullshit? I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. This trope, as Feminist Frequency describes it, of the damsel in distress exists in like every fairy tale, every superhero story, in Super Mario. Just yesterday I had to save my wife from bandits in Skyrim. It exists in everything. And so I don't see how you can say that her point is based in nothing. It's not based in nothing. It's based in reality. I don't know why MrRepzion feels the need to deny the kind of oppression that Feminist Frequency is pointing out, but it exists in our popular culture. Feminist Frequency, he does, however, have a point about you shutting off comments and ratings on your video, and so I would suggest that you turn comments to moderating, because even if you turn off comments and ratings, it doesn't mean that there aren't still people out there who have misogynistic ideas about you. So you should still allow for dialogue. But yeah, MrRepzion is wrong here. This is generally just kind of a, I don't know what kind of video it is, but it's a bummer.